Good evening, welcome back. Good to see you guys. And let's resume where we left yesterday. We were doing yesterday the process domain, and in process domain, we finished task number 9. Throughout that, we discussed about scope, schedule, cost, quality, about methodologies, rules, responsibilities, and we prepared our project management plan. And we were trying to integrate all those plans yesterday. Once the plans are ready and approved, then during the execution, what we have to do, we have to manage project changes. In predictive project management, changes will be coming to you as a project manager. Those who have forgotten, let me repeat it. What was the process for change? The process for change was that any stakeholder can submit the change request. Whenever they ask for the change, you will provide them the artifact called as change request form. Once they will fill the change request form, they will give it to you. You will perform what? You will add them or enlist them in the document called as change log. Once it's added into the change log, then you will do the impact analysis that how this change will impact to the project or its baselines. You can approve it or you need to go with project sponsor or change control board. Once you perform the impact analysis, as I keep saying, you are not the decision maker, so it will be submitted to the change control board. Change control board will review it and they can accept it or they can reject it or they can defer it. Whatever the outcome, in all the situations, you have to communicate, you as a project manager have to communicate to the relevant stakeholders that change request was filed, what is the status of the change request, and ultimately, if it is approved, you will update the relevant document. If it was deferred, then you will update the change log so you can resubmit it again on the required date. Or if it is rejected, you will just file it in the project file. And this will continue throughout the project. Changes can be done at the time of executing process group, or they can also be done at the time of monitoring and controlling process group. Project manager have to go through with 4 types of changes. One is called as corrective actions, one is called as preventive actions, one is called as defect repair action, and one is called as update. Based upon the governance and authority established in the initial stage of the project in terms of governance, these project change requests can be approved by the project manager based upon the authority of the project manager. But these ones must be approved by the change control board and sponsor. The ones which required updates, they have to be approved by the change control board. Otherwise, project manager can approve the corrective actions, preventive actions, or defect repair actions by him or herself. So you need to understand, anticipate, and embrace the need for change. If you feel based upon the work performance data or work performance information, you feel it by yourself, then you can also apply for change. You will not wait that someone will come and ask for that change. No, you always have to be the proactive guy. If you feel that there are changes required, you must make announcement. You must submit the change request. This should be your style throughout the project management. Determine the strategy to handle changes, because if there are too many changes happening, so you have to do what? As we discussed in the previous one, you have to renegotiate the scope. That why so many changes are coming. You have to provide a facilitation sessions among the stakeholders. Where are the problems? So they can renegotiate the scope and then reestablish the scope baseline again. And based upon the change management procedure, so we prepare 2 things: change management plan, right, which defines how the changes will get into the process, and also the configuration management plan, how the product configuration will be updated. So based upon that, we follow what? Change control system and also configuration management system to maintain the version control system of the product, that how the changes are being applied. So execute change management strategy as per the established plan. Determine a change response to move the project forward. If you are stuck in a situation, so you have to negotiate with them that which can be beneficial, which cannot be beneficial. So ultimately, you have to be a good negotiator, good influencers, and you should know how to facilitate the thing. So majority of the time, if you have been observing, you have doing facilitations actually among the key stakeholders. So you don't stuck at another basis. So this task related to, so as a project manager, you should know, you should not keep quiet. You should always apply for change if it is required or ask for the change. Similar to that, we have plan and manage procurement. So the type of resources we need, we have to mention in the resource management plan. And we have to set our procurement strategy where we will find out shall we do it by ourselves, what we call it make or buy analysis or make or buy decision. Shall we do it by ourselves or get it done from outsource? And for that, you have to do the market research that if you will do it, how much it's going to cost. If you get it done from outside, how much it's going to cost, what are the benefits and what are the negatives. So based upon that procurement strategy, you want to go with RFI or RFQ or RFP or invitation for bid, IFB. So based upon those things, you can go with any procurement strategy and ultimately you will make the contracts. Which type of contracts we can make it? We can make fixed price contracts if the scope of work is known. We call it as FFP, firm fixed price contracts. It also has three types. If you remember, we have firm fixed price contracts. We have a fixed price plus incentive fees contract where you want to motivate the supplier for objectives, and fixed price economic price adjustment where we can add any changes because of the government. Or if it is agile or scope of work is not well known, so we can use cost reimbursable contract. And it also has three types: cost plus fixed fee, kind of lump sum type of thing, that there's a cost plus there will be fees. We have cost plus incentive fees if they achieve some objectives or motivate them for objectives, a cost plus award fees, which means if we will pay for all the legitimate cost, but performance will be based upon, fees will be based upon my performance. Then we have time and material contract where the unit rate is defined. Or we can have in agile main contracts with the help of master service agreement. And for each iteration or feature, we can have appendix or addendums related to the required. So we will have our master service agreement. So based upon those contracts, we will establish the relationships between the contracts and ultimately we will deliver the solutions accordingly. Like we are the main contractor and we ask someone else to do the task, so they all will do. So you have to communicate with these people and also you have to communicate to the external stakeholder, which is customer and sponsor. So you will be the bridge between those parties and ultimately you will deliver the project accordingly. So you should know how the procurement works. You should know how the contingencies are there. So you have to keep the contingencies in terms of cost. You have to keep the contingencies in terms of time and cost. So you can actually add these things into your cost baseline. So whatever calculations you are doing in your schedule baseline, you can keep some time for the contingencies and keep some money for the delays and for the wrong procurements. And also when I'm saying this, you have to update the risk register that are there any risk associated, so we can establish the contingency reserves accordingly. If you are working in agile, we use what spikes, and we discussed there are architecture spikes, there are technical spikes, and there are risk based spikes to find out how much risk is involved, how much problems or things can be occurred with the architecture or technical if we will go with this project or with this feature. So that will be in our agile style. We can use a spike to find out the appetite of the stakeholders. Manage project artifacts, all the documents which are being used throughout the project from initiating till closing. You have to keep them updated. You have to keep them stored in a repository, and repository is stored where? In the form of OPA. So all the teams can access to those things. OPA contains two parts: policies and procedures and templates, and past project archives or knowledge base, so they can access from these resources accordingly. So it's your responsibility as a project manager that you supervise the team to update the repository as per the project, maybe after every phase, and for sure after the end of the project. Before closing the project, before releasing the team, you must update the OPA and you distribute the project files. If you remember, at the time of closing, we perform something called as administrative closure, in which we collect all the documents and perform the supplier evaluation, perform the final report, and distribute the reports and everything, and also check that project objectives were achieved or not, and upload to the OPA also. So we always have the updated information remaining. So keep all the time that version control systems are there and relevant files are available to the relevant stakeholders, which means we have what? Pull communications. What is pull communication? That people can pull the data based upon their requirements and which they are authorized for, and continuously assess the effectiveness of the management of the artifacts, that if there are some documents to be added or updated, you should inform the PMO or the relevant department to update those things so they can keep them updated. It's not like every time you are wasting your time. Like, for example, I made an Excel sheet, and when you are filling it, it has a problem in the columns, and ultimately, instead of filling the Excel sheet, you are wasting your time in filling the column. You are adjusting the size of the columns. Adjusting the size of the column, you're spending your energy in these things, they are a waste in the process. So you have to check if there are those things, or if there are different mediums or different risk appetites. So you have to ask the relevant department to keep those documents updated as per the project outlines. Or sometimes if the industries are changed, like your organization was doing the project only for the construction, now they are doing for facility management. So these documents will never be applicable to them. Some part of it, but those parts which are not available, you will be the ambassador, you will guide them. So ultimately, they will be able to finish the update the project documents or provide you the new documents. So you have to manage the project artifacts throughout your project tenure until you are in the project. You have to find out the proper methodology. If you don't have knowledge, or if you don't have the control, so you can look at the PMO. PMO will guide you in terms of three roles, right? Supportive, which means they will provide you; controlling, which means they will provide and guide you; and we have the last one: supportive, controlling, and directive, where decision making will be done by PMO. So you can take their advices that which type of project methodology should be used. What will be the contracting terms? You have to pay 15% advance, you have to go 100% advance, or how those terms will be applicable. And keep using the review gates, keep using the review meetings and retrospect to improve your performances as per the project requirement. It's not like that you will keep sitting by yourself. No, you will always recommend, you will always put your knowledge ahead if they are listening or not listening. But you as a project manager have to always opt for it, provide the feedback. It's PMO and customer responsibility to take your vote or not, but you will be the one who will be fostering the education and guidance to the stakeholders. Establish project governance structure, which is coming from OPM to PMO to project. That which type of governance will be inherited from here to the project. So you can take the guidance from OPA or from the OPM. They will be finding out what to do. And based upon the stakeholder cube, you can find out who have the power, so you can escalate to the appropriate stakeholders, and how much thresholds you need to keep it, plus minus 5, plus minus 10, and so on in the governance. Like if I say that as a project manager, you can approve $10,000, but if the request is $10,500, so by governance, I'm only allowed for $10,000. And if it is $12,000, you have to go to functional manager. Now the amount is in between. So you should have some thresholds that how much you are available for the threshold, or if just only for the 500, you have to wait for the decisions. So these things you have to ask from the project management authority who has hired you, in the form of charter, in the form of governance, that how much I can do it, how much resource, how much authority I have on the resources, so I can use the resources accordingly. And all the time from start till end of the project life cycle, you will be managing the risks and issues. When it is risk, you will do risk management so they don't become the issue. If they become the issue, what is the procedure? That if any risk is converted into issue, this issue will be enlisted to the issue log. And once it is listed to issue log, what will happen? You will assign a person or assign a team to solve the issue. And ultimately, once they solve it, they have to collect the lesson learned. So it can be updated in the lesson learned register, which is open throughout the project. And once project is closed, so it will be going to the lesson learned repository, which is in the OPA. So this is the flow of information. You need to check that whenever the project issues come, whenever the risk become an issue, you have to find out who is a good person to solve the issue, collaborate with the relevant stakeholder to discuss about the issue, and then to reduce the outcome or to do the workarounds. What are the workarounds? Unplanned risk responses, which you might do to save yourself for the risk occurrence or mitigate the things. But ultimately, once it occurs, it becomes the issue. And once the issue is there, then you have to sit with the stakeholders that why these issues are coming regularly. You can use Pareto analysis if there are so many issues coming, or if the issues are coming from the same resources, you can use what? Cause and effect diagram, which is called as fishbone diagram, to find out why these issues are coming. So you have to continuously keep managing the project issues from a start to end of the project life cycle. And once you are done with the project, ensure the knowledge transfer in the OPA. So all the relevant documents are available at the end. So discuss project responsibilities within team, who will do what task, expectations for working environment, the ground rules and team charter, and how we will update the data weekly, daily, quarterly, the frequency you will define it, in which cases you have to update it, if there is something new, how you will update it. So there are always the guidelines how they can update in the OPA. So it will always be available to the next or upcoming project people or anyone who is doing the project at the same time. We also establish in Agile, nowadays the culture is going called as community of practice, where multiple teams discuss their problems with each other, and ultimately they are going towards the center of excellence or towards the establishment of center of excellence, and whatever they are learning, they will optimize it for the value delivery. So as a project manager, it's your responsibility, whether you are in Agile, whether you are in predictive, you need to keep looking at those things, and you have to work according to the rules which you have established. And the last task, plan and manage project phase closure or transitions. Once the project is closed, you have the or phase is closed or procurement is closed, what we said, you have to perform the inspection. After inspection, you have to audit the claims. If claims are closed and deliverable is verified and it's validated, so you have to make the transition with the help of the sponsor to the operations. And at the end, what you have to do, you have to perform the close out project activities, the administrative closure, collecting the final lesson learned, any retrospects, any audits of the claims if they are done. And once you will collect, so if I tell you the procedure, it's like this, that project is finished, transitioning is finished, you will prepare the final report, which contains that project objectives were achieved, what were the project criteria, and so on, what lessons you have collected. And for sure, you will do it with the help of team. You will not do it by yourself. And ultimately, once this document is ready, then it will be going to the OPA. Then you will release the resources. And once all the things are released, then ultimately you can release yourself as a project. Until any claims are open or issues are open, you cannot close the project or you cannot start a new project. So whenever the project closing will happen, you have to perform the project closure. When the project is started and finished, when the project started and terminated in the middle of the project, when the project started on the paper and finished on the paper, all the time you have to perform the administrative closure. You have to close the project all the time. You cannot leave the project on a stopped or paused basis. No, you have to perform the closure of the project all the time. So these were some tasks which you need to know as a project manager. And I try to give you the guidelines that how these things work in terms of project management. They will not ask you the tools and techniques. They will ask you the situations that in this situation you can perform what. Now, because I have good 8 minutes, so let's utilize them. Those who have forgotten what we were discussing in the during the training, look, if it is plan driven project management, what happens in the plan driven project management? Project manager work with sponsor. Project manager work with sponsor, and then they both work in the form of collecting the requirements from stakeholders, and ultimately they deliver the project. If any problem happens, project manager goes to the change control board, and then it goes to the sponsor. And that's how the project gets delivered in the plan driven approach. If it is adaptive approach, then project manager is not related with the changes. So we have a sponsor, yes. We have stakeholders, yes. But here we have another guy called as product owner. Now product owner now communicates with the project manager. If it is one project manager, it's good. It's also possible that they can have multiple project managers. And under these multiple project managers, they can have multiple project manager of multiple teams. So if you look, this guy is what? Handling multiple teams. So this is what is Scrum of Scrum. This guy is also handling what? Multiple teams. So Scrum of Scrum. This guy is handling more than multiple teams. So this will be Scrum of Scrums. And we can call him the Chief Scrum Master or Chief Project Manager or Project Manager. You can name anything. The authority is like this based upon the Scrum. So ultimately, product owner will be meeting one guy. Product owner will not meet to so many guys. This guy will be the communicator between the product owner and project manager. So if there is only one, for sure it is one. But if it is more than one, so the guy who is on the boss's stage or on the above of them, he will be or she will be continually talking to the product owner. Product owner will bring the requirement and understand the requirement. He will establish the acceptance criteria and identify the acceptance criteria and definition of done. Here, project manager established the acceptance criteria. When he is collecting the requirement, when he collect the requirement, he bring them in the requirement traceability matrix. When he collect the requirement, he bring them in the product backlog. So all the requirements are in the product backlog. In predictive, we call it scope baseline. So that's how the project goes into our predictive project management or adaptive project management. Let me add more details to it. In predictive project management, what happens? Charter is assigned. You became the project manager. Then ultimately what happened? You start working on the project management plan with the help of resources who is provided by the PMO. And ultimately every knowledge area will prepare or every domain will prepare their own plans. And ultimately all these plans will be integrated back to the project management plan. Once it is approved by the sponsor, we will execute the project based upon that. So execution, monitoring and controlling, and closing based upon the project management plan, and you will deliver the project to operations. And here we do the work in the form of scope baseline, which is like this: level 1 the project name, level 2 the control account, and level 3 the work package. And if it is going in the work breakdown structure WPS dictionary, so we have what? Activities related to that. If you are going in agile, so in agile we have vision statement, that what vision we are trying to achieve. We hire a product owner from the seller organization, or they allocate product owner. Once allocated, product owner bring the requirement in the form of Apex. Apex contains what? User stories. So Apex and user stories are going to the product backlog, and ultimately there is prioritize product backlog, and you will prioritize based upon Moscow or Kano analysis, or we have dot voting or multi-criteria or customer-based prioritizations, where the user story which have highest value and highest risk will be delivered first. Then there will be a planning meeting where the work will be discussed in the form of product owner and project managers with the team. They will discuss the work, and then they will create iteration backlog, sprint backlog, where user story is decomposed into tasks. Then iteration will begin. There will be a daily stand-up meeting where they will ask three questions. Project manager will ask three questions from the team: what you did yesterday, what you will do today, and what are your impediments. Once 2 weeks finish, or 1 to 4 weeks finish, there will be a review meeting where we will collect the feedback after the demo, and then we will do the retrospect meeting for continuous improvement and lesson and connections. If they are not approved, we will put them in the product backlog, and this circle will continue throughout the project to achieve the project objectives accordingly until the vision is achieved. All these documents, vision statement or project charter or any other document, remains live throughout the project, which means remain updated throughout the project. And it always get updated based upon the guidelines provided by the project management plan or the governance structure, which was established. So those were some details which were, I think, enough to ignite you towards your PMP journey. So let's keep it here, and I will open the floor for the questions. So thank you very much for joining again, and I'll see you in the next sessions also. Until then, good luck